and a friend bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us, DNVR. We are DNVR.
We are DNVR, and we are live from Studio A. The A stands for an interesting quote from Teddy Bridgewater. I want to talk to you about this, Mace, but here in a second. But first, a shout out to our friends over at MSU Denver Online. MSUdenver.edu/online is the place you can go to scope out all they have to offer. 75 plus online and hybrid programs. There's so much to do over at MSU Denver. And if you're looking to further that education while working a full-time job, there is no better place than there because their students work twice as many hours as any other Colorado institution. So check out our friends over at MSUdenver.edu/online. Mace, how are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm not even going to try to do Zach's, my voice.
Yes.
I can't do that justice. So
I mean, everyone has their catchphrases,
right?
You know, you know, he wouldn't. Maybe he would. I was going to say he wouldn't do 75, but
he encourages me to do.
Yes, he would. Yes,
but
he would.
It's kind of the thing. Some things belong to other people. That belongs to him. Even though I'm happy to see you today.
Great to see you as well. We've got this like soccer synergy thing going. I've got my U.S. women's national team world champions. You've got the Rapids who lost but clinched a home playoff game last night because the Galaxy, I believe, also lost.
Big cold night coming up here in November. Home game. Hopefully the schedule aligns. I like being out at Rapids matches. I know you do too.
Yeah, they're
so
great.
Hopefully it'll work to get out there for the playoff game.
Maybe it'll be another snowpocalypse.
Ooh. I wouldn't mind that.
It'd be interesting.
Well, Snowpocalypse, or when they had it, the U.S. national team game, it was the Snow Classico. That is the name that it took on.
Right.
Snow
Snow
Classico.
Classico. Yes, maybe
That's awesome.
We'll have to come up with a new one for this. Okay, so there are some people up in arms about this quote from Teddy Bridgewater, which I'm interested to hear your take on, and I think it's most important to exactly share how it was delivered. He was actually paraphrasing what he told the locker room.
Right.
So he said, I told the guys yesterday, we need to have a sense of urgency, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And then he said, and I'll tell you guys what I told them, which is, it's not time to panic, but it almost is.
Yes. And then he added, because this thing can go in the wrong direction fast. And look, they've been going in the wrong direction.
It's been in the wrong direction, and it's been fast.
Right. It has, at the same time, 3-4, because you had those 3 wins early over bad teams, it's gone in the wrong direction, but it hasn't reached a point where you can't recover. I mean, if we're talking about like the plane being in an unrecoverable spin, it's not at that point yet. But if you lose this game, 3-5, going to Dallas probably is unrecoverable at that point.
So essentially,
at least without changing the pilot.
So essentially what you're saying is you agree with the general sentiment.
Yeah, not time to panic yet, but I think you panic if you lose this game.
Okay. Here's where I agree.
Yeah.
He's actually 100% right.
Yes.
Here's where my issue is. In the NFL, it's such a week-to-week sport that sometimes you say things without realizing what they mean on the wrong side of it. Mm-hmm. What does it mean if it is time to panic? For the guys in that locker room, you can't have that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like he's right, but you can't say this because then if you lose, you're the leader of the team, and everyone's looking around and said, "Okay, well now you said it's time to panic. What does that look like? Do we all run around with our hands waving around, screaming?
People getting fired or benched."
Okay,
that's probably, and maybe there's to kind of dive into the potential psychology of this. Maybe it's kind of him realizing that if they lose this game, probably the button that gets mashed, whether it's fair or not, is change the quarterback. Change the quarterback, change the coach, change the coordinator. If they lose this game badly, you have to imagine at least one of those buttons gets pushed next week.
Okay, so now that you put it that way, I actually think you're right, and I understand it a little bit more. You're saying it's saying it without saying it.
Mm-hmm.
If we lose this one, there's probably going to be hell to pay.
Yes. Although, if the hell to pay is by a coach or two, I'm not sure that everybody would completely mind that.
No, I don't think really anyone.
I think we all get the same indications, same vibes from that locker room from right now.
But it could mean, I don't know, Caden Stearns gets on the field more in place of, some veterans. It could mean,
Offensive line.
yeah,
Maybe.
Kyle Fuller and Bryce Callahan are on the trade block. Yeah. A lot of times we forget about the human side of this. You saw it with Kenny Young yesterday. Getting traded sucks.
Especially when you wake up Monday morning and that's the last thing you're thinking. You're starting for a team that's a Super Bowl contender. You're playing well. And you can only imagine what he thought when he got that phone call. Because he probably, how when a guy gets cut, we see it on Hard Knocks every year, and they're dreading seeing the team number come across their phone. And then they know. He probably takes that call from Rams headquarters, and and for all he knows, it's like, oh, you're on the urine test this week.
Right, 100%.
You're not thinking, hey.
He's definitely not thinking he's getting cut because he was balling.
Right. And you're not thinking, Kenny, you're going to have to come down and clean out your locker because we traded you to a team that's lost 4 in a row. I mean, I admired the honesty that he had yesterday because he could have gone up there and kind of said the right things and put on a brave face, but he let him. He's bleeding a bit, and I kind of admire the fact that he shared that with everybody. But you can't blame him.
Yeah,
I mean that's literally he walks off that field against Detroit on Sunday. He's not thinking I'm going to be playing for a losing team that's tied for last place the next week.
Right. I want to look up just his career path to this point. Has he ever been on a team that I guess with the Ravens? So he's been on a contender before.
Yes.
So that helps a little bit. But the fact that, the point I was making is no one wants to get traded unless you're getting traded from Denver to, I don't know, LA. Like the other way around. The guys would probably welcome that at this point.
Like Kyle Fuller, if he walks in tomorrow and gets pulled aside and is told, Kyle, we just traded you to Tampa Bay. Because they need cornerbacks.
He's not like
he's
feeling
saying his
down.
goodbye, and then when he leaves the building, he's like, yes, yes.
Yeah. Totally. So it's a little different,
Yes.
but I mean, just from like if you take away football, someone just calls you one day and says you're moving your entire life across the country. That sucks. So that's a part of it, and then you mentioned Kenny Young and how you appreciated him being real. And so I think we have to also give that benefit of the doubt or whatever it is, that credit to Teddy Bridgewater here.
Yes.
Because he is right. That is true. I just think it's a dangerous message. It's like Vaughn saying before the Ravens game, this is a playoff game.
Or it's like when you call the players-only meeting.
It's a last resort.
You can't use that bullet very often. It's
right.
like and that's why I asked Teddy kind of, okay, it's a sense of urgency this week. So, like, how is it different than the last few games? Because, Vaughn said, like a playoff game. And certainly in the wake of winning the Raiders game, it's like, okay, we got to have this game against the Browns. I mean, so eventually you can only kind of ramp things up, but so much each week until then there comes a point where there's no more cards left to play.
Right.
And maybe this is sort of his way of saying after 4 losses in a row, there are no more cards left to play after this.
Right. In 5 losses in a row, I'll ask you this. Is there any team out there that has a veteran quarterback starting that isn't like their guy that wouldn't make a change after 5 straight losses? Let's say
Good question.
Tyrod Taylor loses 5 straight in Houston.
We consider Tom Brady Tampa Bay's guy, right?
Yes, he's absolutely their guy,
Okay.
unless Josh Rosen is their guy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it depends what you have in reserve, because I remember a couple of years ago, the Bengals actually, they did turn to Ryan Finley briefly. And Finley was so bad
Yes, he was.
that they're like, okay, fine, just put Dalton back in there.
But even Dalton was kind of their guy.
Right.
I'm looking more at like the
But you knew that they were at that point. You knew
there's
they
not
were
a lot of
going
good-
somewhere else the following year. Like the Joe Burrow rumblings were loud at that point.
It's kind of crazy. There's not a lot of situations like the Broncos right now, who, and it sucks when you put it this way, they don't have a vet that's their guy. They don't have a young guy that's their guy either.
Right. I mean, the Colts are struggling, but they're pretty committed to Carson Wentz. Certainly, Frank Reich
he looks
believes
good
in Carson Wentz.
Yeah, and he is closer to the good Carson Wentz than he is to the bad Carson Wentz right now. Trying to think, like Fitzpatrick would have been one, but he's hurt.
And now Heineke's kind of, I mean, he's okay.
Right,
But if Fitzpatrick comes back,
but if he had lost 5 straight,
Right.
they would have gone to Heineke.
they would have. And now it's sort of the reverse, that if Fitz gets healthy, they're struggling with Heineke. If they don't get back on track, they'll probably just put Fitz back in. Although, as Ron Rivera said, if you're not focused, if you don't have your franchise quarterback and you're not talking about these draft quarterbacks weekly, you're not paying attention.
Right.
Which tells you where his eyes are right now.
I'm trying to think of other situations who are starting just like a Teddy Bridgewater-esque quarterback.
I mean,
You had Houston, but he got hurt. Davis Mills in for a lot of that time. I would guess if Tyrod Taylor comes back and they lose the next 5,
Yeah.
there's a chance they would go back to Davis Mills.
see, everybody has a direction, right?
Right. It's kind of a tough pill to swallow.
The Broncos, you have to look, you'll have to go with Locke if you keep losing. Even if Teddy Bridgewater is not the top name in terms of the list of blame.
Whose
Certainly
fault it is,
the last couple of weeks, yes. I mean, he literally has as many interceptions in the last 73 attempts as he had in the previous 12 games. Mm-hmm. To think about that, I mean, so he's in a funk here. If he doesn't snap out of it, he's not going to get time to snap. He's not going to get time to make that right. But that's just, again, that's the card that you start kind of mashing buttons. It's like Homer Simpson at the console, and he doesn't know what to do, and he just starts randomly pressing buttons. That's where the Broncos are going to be if they lose this game, whether it's coach changes, personnel changes in the starting lineup. They're just going to be hitting every button.
And this is why so many people were so in the Drew Lock camp and really still are in the Drew Lock camp, because there, even if it's the slightest glimmer of hope, a little beam of light coming through a hole in the ceiling, it's something.
Yeah.
And it's better than, what we just detailed, which is the Broncos and honestly the football team are two of the only teams who have no direction at quarterback. No plan, no
They were both trying to get
substance.
through. They were both trying to get through this year.
To do what though?
Well, with Washington, you could see why they would bring in Fitzpatrick, because they played well, especially defensively late last year. And you thought, okay, if their D can pick up where they left off and Fitzpatrick can just kind of be who he was in Miami, they can win 10 or 11 games. But their defense, particularly in their pass defense, is awful. Yeah. That's been the biggest disappointment about Washington and why they're sitting here at 2-5 right now.
Yeah. All right, Mace. Well, we've talked about this game all week. So let's get on the board with our predictions. And man, I am having a hard time with this one. I'm tossing and turning back and forth my feelings on what's going to happen in this game, but I want to get yours first.
Fans, and I feel this way as a Braves fan as well. Fans tend to believe it's always either better than it is when it's going well, or worse than it actually is when it's going bad. And it's bad. They've lost 4 in a row. But I don't think this team is going to get blown out like a lot of people do.
Oh, I don't think.
And I think actually getting Jerry Jeudy back in particular, that will probably stop the bleeding for Teddy Bridgewater.
That's a good take.
And against this pass defense, which has been shredded pretty repeatedly, not saying Teddy's going to go and have the kind of game that, say, Aaron Rodgers would have against it, but if Teddy throws for 250 yards, couple of touchdowns, no picks, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And you should be able to get 24, 27 points in this game based on the way Washington's playing defense. If not, then you're really in the tank. Just as the Broncos have been a get-right game for some teams, I think it's going to be not a resounding get-right game, but about a 27-23 win.
All right. I like it.
These teams are both kind of in the same class. They're look, I saw someone say to me today, "Oh, these teams, this game could decide the number 1 overall pick." No. Neither of these teams are there. There are struggling teams, lower mid-tier teams, and then there are bad teams. These teams are lower mid-tier clubs.
Wouldn't it be fitting if it won't happen? Wouldn't it be fitting if this was the year the Broncos got the number 1 overall pick and like they're trying to decide, do we go with another pass rusher and Kayvon Thibodeau, or do we reach on a quarterback? I mean, this is a kind of a shitty year to have earmuffs. The number 1 overall pick,
unless you figure out that you can trade down. And it's funny, like if you're Houston and you get the number 1 overall pick, and you haven't figured out a long-term plan at quarterback, you might be best served by moving down 3 or 4 picks and seeing okay, get a little bit of extra value, and you can probably still get a Malik Willis.
And just or just try to stack up picks for next year or whatever, the next, great QB class, whenever that may come. All right.
But I think we're still going to see 4 or 5 quarterbacks go in round 1.
They always do.
Yeah. And Todd McShay had 4 quarterbacks in his top 32.
Yeah.
Which tells me that not only will you see 4 quarterbacks in the top 32, that means you'll probably see 4 quarterbacks in the top 20 again.
Yeah, of course. So, always. You got to have one, so everyone's trying.
So how do you see this game?
Well, first of all, I want to give Zach's pick. He said 23-20 Broncos.
Okay.
So you guys are similarly on the same page there. I have a bad feeling about the way this one plays out.
You had a good feeling last week, though.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe your feelings are normally great.
That's I know.
That's
They're
why
a little
last
out
week,
of whack right now.
Last week, honestly, being around you the last couple of years didn't really make the game didn't make sense, because when you put out that guarantee, I almost went and bet some money on the Broncos to win.
Yeah, I did. I really felt it. So maybe I need to recalibrate, and hopefully I'm wrong.
Maybe it's time to panic.
But every time I think about this game, I have flashbacks to Gardner Minshew leading the Jaguars down for a late game-winning field goal. I have flashbacks to Mitch Trubisky leading the Bears down for a game-winning field goal. I have flashbacks to Jacoby Brissett leading the Colts down for a game-winning field goal. And I just feel like Taylor Heineke belongs on that list.
Wow. I mean, that's
mediocre quarterbacks that Vic Fangio couldn't call a defense to stop late in the game.
I can already see Vic with his hands on his knees looking down.
As whoever their kicker is, Dustin Thompson or something like that.
What was Chris? Pardon me. It was Blewett last week, right?
Oh, it was, yes.
And, he missed a kick.
Yep. So, I can see that. That's what I'm feeling in my gut as I try to play this game in my head. I think the Broncos play decent, and I think at the end of the game, maybe they're up 2, maybe it's tied. They have to stop Taylor Heineke and the Washington football team from a game-winning drive, and they can't do it. So I will say the final score is 23-21 football team.
You know what? If that's how the game goes, and I were George Payton looking to make some kind of change, my change would be the defensive play caller, who's the head coach.
Hand it over, huh?
I would.
Wow, that would be quite the death knell for Vic Fangio.
Because it keeps happening. Like, you're right. You mentioned over the years. And the other thing is that this Vic Fangio defense, advertised as being able to generate turnovers, has done nothing of the sort. Not over the last 3 years, not in the last 4 weeks. Dead last in takeaways the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's honestly mind-boggling, and it's why I always go back to the booth thing. I just wanted to see it. We're not going to see it by the time that Vic is, done here in Denver.
Maybe that's the panic card to play.
I would love that.
Vic goes, if they lose this game, maybe the panic card is, all right, I'm going upstairs for the Dallas game.
Do you know how mad
by the way,
I would be?
It's a pretty nice upstairs in Dallas.
Do you know how mad I would be if he did that and called an amazing defensive game and they shut out the Cowboys or something? I'd lose my mind.
I would be happy. I'd be like, okay, fine, maybe I would actually have some hope for the next several weeks if that happened.
Well, of course
Yes.
you would, but it would be like, what a waste of 2.5 years.
Yeah, why didn't you do this before?
You literally should have been doing it from game one, in my opinion.
The problem is in the NFL, and you know this, that there's such a fear of change. Nobody wants to be that first person through the wall because there's that chance that you might like break your nose. Okay,
I bet if you took a silent, anonymous poll of the players, do you need Vic Fangio on the sidelines during the game? You would be like 95% no.
Yeah, I mean, if one coach did it and did well, you'd have others do it. It would become
At least thinking of it.
Yeah, it would become something normal.
Yeah. I mean, Sean McVay, obviously he's doing a good job, so he doesn't need to change it. But he's like scrambling on defensive possessions to try and get the pictures and everything so he can see that bird's eye view because he's missing it from down there.
I mean, you know, if you're an older fan, say age 55 or older, you probably remember when it was a big deal when coaches started wearing headsets on the sidelines. Like, it just wasn't done.
Yep.
And then it started to be done. And then, no coach with it wearing a headset has ever won the Super Bowl. Then the Niners did it with Bill Walsh. And that's the thing. What seems radical ends up becoming normal once it's tried and it
works.
And it works.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
speaking of
be
things
innovative.
that I've tried and it works, the snooze mattress.
Ooh.
The snooze flip is what they hooked me up with. And it's the best mattress I've ever slept on, Mace. I went up to the mountains this weekend and had a great little relaxing weekend. But as I was driving home, I was just thinking, like, man, I can't wait to sleep in my bed again on my snooze flip. It's the 4-in-1. You can choose soft, firm, cool, or cozy. And you can mix any of those two together. So you can go with soft and cool. You can flip it. You can go soft and warm. There's so many different ways that you can use it. It's the world's first 4-in-1 mattress that you can customize to the way you like it, and got some amazing deals when you use the code DNVR. You can get $500 off a queen mattress or up to $1,000 off a dual split king. And I'm telling you, this is the best mattress I've ever slept on. Tossed my other one directly into the giveaway area of the apartment complex just in a snap. So check out Snooze and the new flip mattress.
And it's a local company as well.
It is.
So you're buying local when you buy from Snooze. Also, something that's big locally is our friends over at Ball, as in Ball Arena, as in they have a huge aluminum can plant over in Golden, and it's people that make Ball special. People like Zach's Aunt Julie, who works there. People come in every day at Ball to work and give 100% to accomplish the goals. And a key element of that is their production technicians, the front line in their can-making operations, who directly impact the volume of production they run, the quality of production they run, and are integral to their operations. The production techs are also important because as their skills grow, they can move into even more mechanical roles. And guess what? They are looking for new production techs right now at their facility over in Golden. You can read the full description and apply at jobs.ball.com and search for Golden. A production technician works on the front line of the aluminum beverage can production process at Ball's plants. We've talked about how they produce 101 billion cans every year. So there's a lot on their plate. So Ball offers a competitive $27.39 wage per hour with the potential for increase at 6, 12, and 18 months, and offers exposure to a lot of other manufacturing opportunities at Ball. Production tech touches on the other stages of production, making aluminum cans and ends. They're responsible for machine adjustments or on high-speed production equipment and meeting operational goals for volume. At Ball, all positions have importance and impact, and so if you start off as a production tech, you can become a maintainer, which is the next step up. Employees have all gone on to other roles, starting from the production tech, going into management as well. So there's a growth opportunity there, in addition to this being a good job right away at $27.39 per hour. It's full-time with benefits, 401k for retirement, stock purchase ownership, annual bonus potential. These are the benefits of working for a place like Ball. So check it out. Go to jobs.ball.com, search for Golden, or text Golden to 77222, and you'll be linked to open positions, including those production technicians. And you know what? I mean, you don't have to have aluminum can making experience to be a part of ball and be able to help out and learn and grow over there.
There you go. Finally, just want to tell you about all the amazing things we have going on at DNVR this weekend, including our Halloween party on Saturday. Come down, come in your best costume, win some prizes. It's also a double watch party night with the Avs and Nuggets both in action that night. So that should be fun. Of course, you've got Buffs and Rams earlier in the day. I mean, you could probably come here from 11 a.m. to close and just have a good time the whole time. It might be a long time to wear your costume, so maybe you go home and change in between.
Is it all day for Halloween, or is it just in the evening? So I mean,
the Halloween party is set to start at 7.
Okay,
so right along with the other games.
But we won't kick you out if you come for brunch wearing a costume.
No, unless you're dressed as like Joe Flacco in a Ravens uniform or something like that.
Okay, I'm trying to think of
Draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, Flacco's a good line to draw.
Yeah. And then, of course, on Sunday, you've got the tailgate and the party bus. So you can come down here at 10 a.m., get ready, have a couple drinks before you get on the 11 a.m. party bus. We'll take you over to the tailgate, which, of course, you can just get your tickets to the tailgate if you just want to do that. And then if you do the bus, you'll go to the game, you'll come back to the tailgate spot, and they'll bring you back to the DNVR bar for Sunday Night Football or to get your car or whatever and head home. So it's a great, awesome opportunity, in my opinion, the best possible way to experience a Broncos game. All right, Kale, we've got a super chat we want to hit, so what do we got here?
Yeah, $20 super chat coming in from our guy, so thank you for that.
Wow, thank you.
Thanks for all you do. Can you explain why most media spends time bashing Teddy and not focusing on the defense? I thought we knew what Teddy was average and the point of the year was to play from ahead. Simmons is a D-.
I think we've spent some time focusing on that. I mean, if you look at the title of the podcast, Teddy Bridgewater, admittedly, there's some SEO things going on with why we focus on the quarterbacks in the podcast titles. But, I mean, you look at the defense. I mean, I think it was last Friday I pointed out, like, how if you go in yards per game, yards per play, takeaways, last 4 weeks, they're bottom quarter in basically everything in the league right now. They're
bad.
They're playing badly. And worse than that, the thing that you see on the film is when, you don't see that little extra effort. Like when play flows away from somebody, if you're giving that extra effort, you're going to see like the guy Chase, right? Mm-hmm. You're not seeing as much of that right now.
Yeah.
You are seeing some very subtle business decisions being made out there.
Yeah, I think the comment is an interesting one. I can't explain why any other media does anything, but I can say that the quarterback position is just always going to take the most brunt. And the truth is, it's the one that matters the most. So, Teddy is kind of playing like we expected him to. And the defense is letting him down in ways. But the third down conversion rate is abysmal. The red zone touchdown rate is not good. And those are the types of things where, like, if you had Aaron Rodgers, those things would be better. Your team would be better. You'd be scoring more points. You'd be winning more games. So it's really easy for just anyone to point to the quarterback at any time. And honestly, you can almost never point at the quarterback on a losing team and be wrong and putting some blame on their plate. So I think it's the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, there's a lot of blame to go around, though, in the defense. And like you said, Teddy he's basically a lower mid-tier quarterback this year.
Yeah.
Sadly,
which is what we thought he would be.
And sadly, like if you look at his passer rating, it's the best passer rating any Bronco quarterback has had post Peyton, or even including Peyton in 2015. I mean, it's just kind of testament to where this team is right now. But I think that it is worth scrutinizing the defense because, like we've mentioned with takeaways, this has not been what we were sold on when Vic Fangio was hired. The Broncos have not gotten what they bought.
Exactly. And the whole point of this team is exactly as he described it.
Right.
Get average play from the quarterback. There's no way they were ever expecting Teddy Bridgewater to be great. Get average play from the quarterback and elite play from the defense. Well, you're getting average play from the quarterback and below average play from the defense over the last few weeks. So that's why you're going to lose. Now, you can always make the parallels of, the offense can help the defense and this, that, and the other thing. But the defense puts the offense in a 7-0 hole every game.
Right. I'm actually writing about that today, about these first possession issues. And, I mean, I kind of asked Justin Simmons about it because, on the one hand, it's kind of like an interception. You know the cliche, every interception has a story? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Every first drive has a story. Mm-hmm. But but when it happens over and over again, you start looking.
The story is the fact.
The story is that it's happening over and over again. And oh, by the way, you're not equipped to come from behind. B, Cleveland thought so little of the Broncos defense early in the game that usually teams defer. The Browns said, "We won the toss. Give us the ball." And they rammed
it to Case Keenum and Dearness Johnson.
And they rammed it right down their throat with Case Keenum and Dearness Johnson. Although I like Dearness Johnson.
Oh,
what a great! I mean,
he
went to
rules.
USF, was working on a boat in Key West, was Facebook messaging everyone in sight, including our friend Benjamin Albright, back in 2018, trying to find a place, and eventually ends up with the Orlando Apollos of the AAF.
Wow,
to what started it for him.
He's
really
a
cool.
beast. I hope he gets an opportunity, because I'm worried that once Chubb's back this week, but once Kareem Hunt also comes back, I'm worried that he's just gonna fade into the darkness. I want him to get traded or end up somewhere where he can get some carries. That dude is awesome.
I think that game will get him an opportunity somewhere. I was telling somebody, a friend of mine from USF a few days ago, that game will probably buy him 3 to 4 years of NFL paychecks.
Oh, I completely agree. It's kind of like Mike Boone, right?
Yeah.
He got his opportunity, he shined, and now he's gonna bounce. He'll play for the Broncos for a couple of years. Maybe after that he'll end up somewhere else. Maybe he gets re-signed here.
You build your nest egg, and then you can own the fishing charter in Key West when you're done, and that can be your life's work.
If I were the Buffalo Bills, I would trade for Dearness Johnson.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Why not?
I love
Heck,
that.
if I were the Tennessee Titans, because you're so running back dependent with Derrick Henry, I would consider trading for Dearness Johnson. Because if something happened to Derrick Henry, I feel like you could approximate about 85% of what you do with Derrick Johnson.
All right, let's go around the AFC West here. And Kale, we'll have you read us the games so we can give our picks. Do you also have the updated record?
I do.
Okay, what do we got here? Mace, how are you feeling? I know I got the Titans over Chiefs last week. So
yeah, I'm not
I
looking
picked
forward
one up on the field.
I'm not looking forward to seeing where things stand right now.
All right, so we've got Mace in first place, still at 11 and 10.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Arcade's in second place at 10 and 11.
Okay.
And our guy Zach falling back to third decidedly at 9 and 12.
Oh.
Pretty bunched though.
Yeah.
It shows you that
we're not getting rich picking these games either.
Well, no, I mean the AFC West has been a wild experience this year. You've got the Chiefs obviously underwhelming, the Raiders kind of overperforming, the Chargers. Some weeks they look great, some weeks they look terrible. And then,
dare we say it's the Wild Wild West?
It is.
Ugh, sorry, had to go there.
It's funny because in college football this will happen, right? Where a division is actually really good, but because they always beat up on each other, they end up not looking as good. I think the AFC West is a really, really good football division, but you're not seeing those like very dominant top teams look like it. And obviously the Chiefs, it's like if 1 year the Big Ten didn't have Ohio State going right, that conference is still going to be a good conference, but it's not going to look like it because their top team isn't performing well.
And the other thing is with the Chiefs, look who they've lost to: Baltimore, the Chargers, Buffalo, and Tennessee. I mean, they're basically playing a murderer's row schedule.
Yep. Who do they have this week?
They have the Giants, and so they're going to get back on their feet. You want to start there?
Let's start
That's
there.
That's the easy pick. Give me the Chiefs at home. And this is a must-win for them because on the other side of this Giants game, Packers at Las Vegas, Dallas.
Man,
I mean,
well, that's what you get for getting first place.
Right. They've basically eliminated their margin for error at this point, and they're going to have to find a way to win at least one of those two games that follow to have a pulse coming out of the bye. Otherwise, they could be 4-7 if they keep losing to the teams that are the legit contenders.
I think this spread, at least last I saw it when we guessed the lines on Tuesday, was over a touchdown.
Yeah.
I kind of like the spread, but if we're picking it straight up, I'll take the Chiefs to find a way.
Well, they've beaten the Eagles and Washington, the other two teams in the East comparable to the Giants. They beat the Eagles by 12 and the football team by 18. So I feel comfortable with the Chiefs by double digits in this one.
I think Danny Dimes is going to have a nice little game.
He will, but Mahomes and the Chiefs offense I think will put up more. But it'll be an entertaining game. This feels like a a fun 38-27 type of game.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's good. That's a good
It's
number.
watchable.
Speaking of fun, got a nice little Thursday nighter tonight.
Yeah. Ooh.
Anyways, what else we have on the docket here,
So
Kale?
for the AFC West, we've also got the Patriots in Los Angeles to take on the Chargers, and the Washington football team here in Denver. Raiders are on a bye.
Okay, so the last game here that we're picking is Patriots at Chargers. Mac Jones put on a show this last week. Now he gets to go face
A real team?
a real team. Yes. What do you think?
Give me the Chargers.
Okay.
Get a week to stew on a bad game in Baltimore. This just seems like a classic cliche bounce back opportunity. Get right game for them.
Oh, man.
Patriots will hang around.
I forgot they're coming off a bye. I was thinking of picking the Patriots, but that's too. There's too much going against them. Give me the Chargers as well. I guess I don't have my upset pick this week to try and steal one.
Unless you want to throw in one from the outside the division.
You
just
guys,
for fun.
other than your Washington pick, are the same across the board. You're not going to try and make up ground at all this week?
Well, I guess I would make up ground on these guys if the Broncos lost, but I hope I'm wrong on that one.
By the way, what's the spread on, if just random upset? What's the spread on Eagles Lions?
I do not know. I think it's pretty close though.
Okay. I mean, I think the Lions win that game. But the reason why I'm like, okay, Detroit slight underdogs at home in Week 8. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
There's an upset. I'll take Detroit.
All right,
They're
you go.
looking feisty.
There's Mace's upset
But
of the week.
it's a lame upset because I think the spread is like it's like a 3-point spread for the Eagles
Fair
on
enough.
the road. But Detroit they're feisty.
It's true.
That's one I can see why Bronco fans look at that game in December and think, oh, the Broncos might lose to the Lions, because if things have gotten out of control for the Broncos and they just mailed it in, I think the Lions are still going to be playing hard for Dan Campbell.
Fair.
So,
All right, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Strava Craft Coffee. It's CBD infused, rich, tasty coffee, and this stuff is delicious. And what's even better is you can use the code DNVR25 your first purchase and get 25% off. Then when you're like, wow, this stuff is amazing, I want it shipped straight to my door every 2, 4, 6, or 8 weeks, well, they have something just for you. It's a Strava Craft Coffee subscription. And the best part about signing up for that is, one, you won't ever have to put your credit card info again, all that stuff. They'll just keep sending it to you whenever you need it. But additionally, you'll continue to get 20% off every single purchase when you do sign up for that subscription. So sign up for a subscription for our friends over at Strava Craft Coffee.
all right, it's football season, and you know what that means? It means we're going for 2 with Manscaped. Blitzing through hairs has never been easier, and it's time you joined 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using the code DNVR at manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping. It's 3 and out the window with all other trimmers. Now go tame that wildcat offense. The performance package from 4.0 from Manscaped is the perfect package for your package when you go for 2, and a key for great grooming and hygiene to make sure the boys downstairs are smooth like Tom Brady in the fourth quarter. I like that analogy. Yeah. The brand new Lawnmower 4.0 is here to take your defense to the next level. This 4th generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, 7,700 RPMs, a new multifunction on-off switch can engage a travel lock, and it gives you the ability to turn the 4,000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. And it's waterproof. Rain, snow, or sleet. No match for the waterproof power of the 4.0. There's no 15-yard penalty for this clipping. This package also comes with a weed whacker. The Elite nose and ear hair trimmer is also waterproof and uses the 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. And look, you know what? You may be 20-something listening to this and think, I don't need to trim my nose hair. You get into your 40s like me, you know what? You start growing hair where you don't want hair. In places like your nose. And you're going to need that thing.
I think it hit for me around like 27 is when I started realizing, like, why is my nose so tickly?
Exactly. For me, it was like, there's a whistle.
Yeah.
When you breathe. So anyway, after trimming your footballs, show them some love with Manscaped's liquid formulations, including the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner. So make sure you check out manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping. Use that code DNVR. It's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com with the code DNVR. Stiff arm your pubes out of the playoffs this year with Manscaped.
All right, guys.
I got through that without laughing.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Also,
I love the copy. The puns that they work in there are so great.
So great. And you guys are all welcome for me leaving that read for Mace. Finally, after years of fine print contract and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when Mint Mobile came to us and started telling us about all the different things they offer, you had to think, what's the catch? But after speaking with them and using that service, it all makes sense. There really isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. By cutting out retail stores, there's no crazy overhead costs that get passed down to you in the form of mystery fees. Instead, Mint just passes sweet savings on directly to you. And honestly, Mace, they hooked us up with the way this works. Basically, they send you a SIM card. You put that SIM card into any phone, and you are good to go. And it works. It works fantastically, in fact, and it works just as good, if not better, than previous wireless providers. So make sure you check out Mint Mobile. This is $15 a month you can start at, which is such a great deal. So to get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get it shipped straight to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/DNVR. That's mintmobile.com/DNVR to cut your wireless bill to $15 a month. mintmobile.com/DNVR.
I think Kale wants me to have the Manscaped read every time it comes up.
Yes.
I just saw his tweet. It's the challenge for me to get through without laughing. I feel like Charlie Steiner when he was trying to do some ridiculous story. Like on ESPN back in the day, they would always give him the crazy story, like Tanya Harding throwing hubcaps and that sort of thing, because they knew he couldn't make it through.
They knew he would giggle.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love it. You gotta love breaking the fourth wall there.
Exactly.
All right, let's get into the comments here. We got time for a few before we have to let Mace get down to Broncos headquarters. So here we go. Mile high till I die. My boys, I was wondering if Vic Fangio is let go. Who would be your top 3 head coaches to come to Denver, and who do you think are the top 3 most realistic hires? Are those two different lists, or is there some overlap?
Well, I mean, we actually had it reminded to us on Twitter yesterday with one of our listeners pointing out that Dan Quinn had wanted to work with George Payton years ago when he was in the cycle that got him to Atlanta.
Yep.
But Payton opted not to interview for the open GM positions. This was according to Pro Football Talk, a report from a, quote, league source.
Right. You also have
so Dan Quinn is realistic.
Right. You also have Benjamin Albright putting out like cryptic tweets about it last week. Like, how would you feel about Dan Quinn with Mike McDaniel as offensive coordinator and Russell Wilson as quarterback? And I was like, you buried the lead there. You can give me Russell Wilson at quarterback and Kale at head coach, and I'm all in.
I would say this. George Payton likes who he knows, right?
Yep.
So I would start with people that he knows and has worked with. Dan Quinn, he worked with in Miami. Darrell Bevell was Minnesota's offensive coordinator when Payton was there, before he went to Seattle. I know that doesn't excite you.
Yeah, I'm in a snooze fest over here.
Why? He's a QB guy.
I know, but come on.
He's a good QB coach. That's
How old is he?
I believe he's late 40s because he played at Wisconsin back in the 90s when they had their breakthrough season in 93. He was the quarterback.
Darrell Bevell is 51 years old.
There you go. So yep.
I was gonna say anything under 55. I'll consider.
A guy who played QB in college in 1993 is 51 now. God, oh man.
I was 1 in that year.
That is really making me feel old. Anyway, so Bevell, another guy that is somebody who George Payton knows is Leslie Frazier, former Vikings head coach, Bills defensive coordinator. I'm just telling you.
I understand.
Those are the realistic hires.
I really don't want a defensive head coach, and I'm worried that that's the way George Payton's going to want to go.
Brand Staley's a defensive head coach.
Yeah, that's like
Sean McDermott's a defensive head coach.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's never been a good defensive head coach. I'm saying I don't want one.
It's just important who the offensive head coach is. Like for example, I know that when the Broncos were doing a coach search a few years ago, one of the candidates who didn't get the job considered having Brad Childress as their offensive coordinator, and that would have been like,
Yeah.
So that matters. Okay, now your top 3 coaches, period. Not realistic, just top 3.
Well, Mike Tomlin's looking for a job, isn't he?
Never. And when I say never, I don't mean never, but never.
Okay, but like actual people that could be hired, I don't know. I just want young, exciting.
Are you still a Lincoln
coaches.
Riley guy?
Not really.
See, I
don't really believe in the college to pro transition. Of course, Cliff Kingsbury is my guy. He's the one who's kind of pulling it off right now. But I'm so worried about that. It's just it's so different. I mean, it couldn't be more different, I don't think, from a coaching perspective. College is so much about like getting these young guys to buy into you before they, or when they have a choice. And it's all about like, I don't know, just it's so much stick in college. And in the pros, it's so much more important to actually have substance.
And the thing with Riley, the way he kind of handled that thing when the 2 Oklahoma Daily reporters were watching from a building, and the response was shut it all down.
Every coach probably would have handled this in a similar way.
Every college coach would. In the end, but this
Can you imagine what would happen to you or I if we were flying a drone over Broncos practice and then reporting what was going on?
Oh yeah, I mean we'd be in trouble. But you know what? They wouldn't shut down media availability for everybody else just because of that.
That's probably true. You're
Yes.
right about that.
We've got a super chat coming in saying Rodgers Peterson 2022 make the Broncos great again.
Doug Peterson is
Peterson-
actually the top of my dream list.
I mean, I like Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
He kind of is the middle of all worlds, right? He is an innovative offensive mind, but he also has experience and he has a Super Bowl, which tells me he's going to be a very hot candidate.
He probably is going to be the top candidate this cycle.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
Yeah.
The problem here is that these type of coaches, whether it's him, Kellen Moore, somewhere else, they're going to want to go somewhere that has a quarterback.
And has an owner.
Unless they want to go somewhere where they get to choose, they feel like they have a choice in the quarterback.
Well, I think part of it is like the appeal of Dan Quinn or Darrell Bevel is if Russell Wilson wants out, would he add a team with Dan Quinn or Darrell Bevel to the list of places he would want to go because of their experience with Seattle, particularly that World Championship team?
I'm out on that unless it's they have like a handshake behind the scenes type of thing.
So, not if you knew though that Russell Wilson would come if you hired Darrell Bevel, take him in a second, right?
You can hire literally anyone in the world named Daryl, and I'm in if you get Russell Wilson as your quarterback.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean...
Darrell and the other brother Darrell from Newhart back in the day, they'd be good.
Yes. Former CU running back Darryl Scott.
Yeah.
I'm in on that. The quarterback's the only thing that matters.
I agree. And that's the thing. Like Vic Fangio is going to probably be sitting in a bar stool a few years from now saying, if I only had a quarterback. That's what it's all about.
And that's a cautionary tale for these other coaches who will be considered for the Broncos job that I'm sure Vance Joseph, Vic Fangio will tell them, don't take a job unless you have a quarterback. I'm sure people are advising that to people all over. Like, it's so obvious now.
It's why if Urban Meyer moves on, the Jags' job is probably the number one job.
Yeah, I mean, you are fighting history there, too.
You're fighting history, but you know who the guy is.
Yep.
That's already clear.
All right, we only got a couple more minutes here, so let's try and hit a couple more questions. Von Miller's Chicken Farm. Howdy, gents. Brown requesting to leave after being misused is the epitome of the ineptitude of the coaching staff. Only used in motion behind the line, I legitimately feel like Shermer believed that was part of some great RPO due to how many times it was run and the handoff fakes, sitting in the box, chuckling to himself on how it's a great call every time. Meanwhile, the defense sees the feeble attempt and pushes the line back, resulting in a tackle for loss. Anywho, who's coming to Denver again this year? RK, where did you happen to sit in the stands looking for a great seat? Any recommendations on sections? Thanks for the pod, as always. So, quickly on John Brown. He was asked, right, he asked for his release?
Yeah, because what happened was he was a practice squad guy. They had used the two promotions you're allowed on a practice squad guy to the game day active roster without being exposed to waivers. They used them up. So with Jerry Jeudy coming back, they weren't going to put him on the 53, and he said, I'm not going to stick around to be on the practice squad. That's it.
Totally fair.
Totally fair.
Also, I do like pre-snap motion, but you have to pay it off at some point. They haven't run that jet sweep. So why would the defense care about it?
Right, exactly. It's like three tight end formations aren't any good if you don't have the threat of the pass out of them. You got to do enough to make the defense think you're actually going to go in the opposite direction of a trend.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he asked where I sat in the stands. I think I learned. I like figured out like a stadium hack here.
Okay.
The 200 level of the south stands. It's cheap. But technically, you're still on the first level,
right?
Because there's only one level of the south stands.
The sun is also behind you.
The sun is behind you.
Great call.
And it's just like watching the all 22.
Yeah.
From down there, I think it's the best place to sit.
I love the right above the end zone angle.
Yeah.
Same reason.
Yep.
And also I love to watch line play, and that's where you see the holes open up. If you've got the view right behind the end zone, you always know which O-lineman did well, which one screwed up right away.
The only thing that's tough is even when you're up high, it is hard to gauge how many yards a play gains when you're in the end zones.
You're not a binoculars guy?
No.
See, I'm a binoculars guy. Like, binoculars sitting up in the 200 level or in the end zone, or the 300 level if you want to have the sun bearing down you on the north end zone. Those are great angles.
All right. This is from Melbourne Bronco, who says, hey, guys, I'm reposting from yesterday. Take this comment in jest. Last week, I had no interest in watching the Browns game until a certain DNVR person said I guarantee a win. That was enough for me. I took the day off from work. I'm a contractor, so no work, no pay. Oh, God. So who shall I send the invoice to for lost revenue to? RK, Spano, or I can send it to Elway and Payton. On a serious note, this franchise is yuck. Start ripping and lose every game, get a top 3 pick and cheers. Well, I am deeply sorry for that. You can send me the invoice. It's going to be tough to convince anyone to start ripping and lose every game. Also, I don't even think ripping would lose every game.
No. There's enough talent on the roster to where you're probably going to, at worst case scenario, I think the rest of the way, stumble into 2 wins. I don't think they finish with fewer than 5.
I would be kind of shocked if they finished with only 5, especially if you guys are predicting a win this week. That gets them to 4.
Yeah, and they're gonna probably beat Philly in a couple of weeks. I think they end up right now. I know I had 10-7 going into the season. I think they probably end up with 7 wins, 7-10.
Yep.
Which is that frustrating kind of more middle ground meh.
For sure. All right.
Anyway.
Didn't have as much time for the comments today, so we apologize for that.
Got a little carried away on the coaching.
Yes,
stuff.
we did. We went way too far down the rabbit hole on a couple different topics. But before we get out of here, and Mace, you can head out if you want, but I just want to remind the people about MSU Denver Online. Of course, 750 total classes, 45 plus online and hybrid programs. There's no better place to go for an online education than MSU Denver Online. They are the presenting sponsor of this show, and they provide rigorous and affordable online programs taught by professors who bring the real world into the classroom. So check out our friends over at MSU Denver. We appreciate them for presenting the show. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you watched on YouTube, hit us with a thumbs up on your way out, and we'll catch you later on the DNVR Broncos podcast.